We are.
We are. Welcome to another edition of the Bulluminati podcast, proudly presented by Irish 31. Seth and Nathan here. Before we get into it, jam-packed show. We've got two special guests for you guys. Some really we always love the brand, and this episode's definitely going to be hashtag for the brand. So I'm excited for it. But first, Irish 31, they were kind enough to sponsor us. Guys, go out and check them out. They've got locations all across the Bay Area. They got one in Vito, Hyde Park, West Chase, up in Wesley Chapel, Seminole, West Shore. They've got it everywhere. And they'll have the Bulls bonus watch party with Danielle and Magic 94.9 Saturday, September 25th. The BYU game recently announced 10:15 kick time. They will be out there at Irish 31 Hyde Park, as well as October 2nd, which will be the SMU game as well. And they have watch parties at all 6 Irish 31 locations all season long during the road games. Water ball flat screens and LED walls with the games on. Bulls themed drink specials, $5 16-ounce Yingling flight cans. And as I mentioned, Magic 94.9 on site. And if you snap a picture with Coach Scott, there's cardboard cutouts at every single pub, and share it to Instagram for a chance to win tickets to the next USF home game. Make sure you tag Irish 31 Pub and hashtag horns up. Well, that's that. Go to Irish 31, man. They got some great foods, great drink specials. Trivia night on Tuesdays. Nurse and first responders night, teachers night. Happy hours on Sundays after a long Saturday of football before you get cracking. Go check them out, and they've got mimosas. They've got everything for you guys. So let's get to it. Alex, you're saying my mic's messed up. Let's find out. Does it sound bad, Seth? Let's find out. Pride of live podcasting. How's this? Good, perfect. Seth, you're muted, so that's fun.
Yeah.
All right. So first, let's kind of. What's up?
It's better.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. We'll fix this in post. Don't worry about it. That's definitely a thing. So as I mentioned, we've got a couple of guests tonight. We've got former USF punter Trent Schneider and journeyman kicker. I think four different stops at 3 different collegiate levels. Does that sound about right, Patrick? We got Patrick Nishaka here joining Trent Schneider. So let's introduce them, guys. You're working with Vantage. I wanted to bring you guys on and kind of talk about what you're doing for college athletics in the world of NIL. And Trent, what kind of made you go with Vantage, and how are things going right now?
Basically, the opportunity came up. I needed a job, obviously, to stay in America. So once I realized with football, I wasn't going to be eligible if I did another year. Basically, as soon as the season was done, because I already finished my master's, I would have been kicked back to Australia. So I opted to do the year work visa instead, which can be extended, obviously. And then basically I got in contact with Michael Kelly at USF, and he put me in touch with the founder of Vantage Sports, Patrick Johnson. So basically he came up with the idea that there's going to be, once the NIL comes out, there's going to be a gap. You're going to get football players, the big guys, they're going to sign deals with, car dealerships, whatever it be. But the majority of athletes actually will miss out. They're not going to really be able to benefit from their name, image, or likeness. So the idea is we actually empower the college athlete, and then also they get to develop the youths, the up and coming college athletes, of the next generation. The idea is they do training. They sign up with us. They set their sessions, and they can go train if they want to train 5-year-olds, 10, it doesn't really matter. Whoever's interested. It gives the youth a chance to train with top-level college athletes at a fraction of what the cost would be if you go private training, because that's very expensive, obviously, for parents. So basically just trying to bridge all the gaps together, trying to add value everywhere, so everyone involved can benefit from it.
Absolutely. And Patrick, if I'm not mistaken, you and Trent kind of connected at Santa Barbara Community College, right? That's kind of where you guys first met. And, a few years past, you went to Ole Miss, Northern Colorado. And then, Trent obviously came to USF. How did you guys stay in touch, and how did, this kind of relationship form as you guys both leave the collegiate ranks?
Definitely. Yeah, no. So Trent and I met back in junior college. But a quick side note, back to the whole, he needed to stay in the U.S., needed a job. I offered to marry him, but Trent was like weird about it or something. I don't know. So, but that was on the table, just for the record. But we option. But we connected really well back in junior college, and Trent's a little bit older than me, and I was kind of a young punk, and we just, he kind of big brothered me, and but we stayed in really good touch and over the years, and I was a bit of an NFL journeyman, but or NCAA journeyman, excuse me. But so right now I'm still trying to kind of make it into the NFL ranks, and so I'm a free agent. But Trent kind of came to me recently. It was like, hey man, I just got on with Vantage Sports, and kind of explained it to me, and I fell in love with the idea. I've bounced around so many schools, and I love college athletics. The lessons and everything I've taken away from it is massive. It's definitely made me a better man, a better human being for sure. And I look back to a young kid, and I'm like, okay, well, if I could have worked with a college athlete or something like that, because I was such a big fan as a kid, I was like, that's insane. That would have been the greatest thing ever. And so, like Trent said, I think, if you're looking for private training and stuff, it's limited to what areas of the country you're in, because Exos and those big, training brands, they're more on the West Coast. And, we're kind of looking for those schools and those cities and towns that they don't have all that fancy training stuff. And so, when Trent and Pat came to me about this, I was like, yeah, of course. I love this idea. So, it's great. And I love this team, and I really like where the direction of this company is going right now.
Yeah, I know a lot of private lessons, as Trent and you mentioned, Patrick, they can get really expensive. What can you kind of expect from these training sessions? As an up and coming athlete, what can you expect from bang for your buck, so to speak?
Well, it really depends, obviously, on if it's one-on-one training, small group training, also age groups, and what sport. So if you got a high-level quarterback. But you can get private training for $100 an hour to an hour and a half, which is unheard of. If you're going with a top starting quarterback, or even backup quarterbacks in a college Division I level, to actually be able to train with someone of that caliber, that I can guarantee that quarterback has paid thousands and thousands of dollars to get where they are.
Right, and the other thing is too is college athletes. During a season, your 40-hour a week job is your sport, and even in the off season, maybe it's a little bit less, but training camps are always way more. So it's if you're going to get coaching, why not just get it straight from somebody who's living it every single day? I feel like that's most invaluable teaching is somebody who's practicing every single day in the meetings and the film, for any sport. So that's kind of where I feel like that's where we're going to be the difference.
Absolutely. And Trent, I know a few of your former teammates, they had that little camp thing. Was that through you guys, or was that just kind of, were you involved with that? I know that they had a specialist camp earlier this summer.
Yeah, so we ended up actually sponsoring that event. So initially, I'm pretty sure Spencer Schrader set it up with Kenny. And then basically that was as we were starting to do what we were doing, spreading the word. So we just, thought we'd link up with them, because basically exactly what they were doing is what we want to, bring to everyone else. it's a great way for them to learn business skills, being entrepreneurs themselves, build their brand at the same time. And then also they get to practice what they're learning on a day-to-day basis, bring it to the youths, like whether, they're 10, 12-year-old youths trying to further their skill, they get to bring that directly to them. There's no middleman for them. And they also get to learn about, there's college life as opposed to, and just sports. Like there's a whole different thing, like going to class on time, doing your work. Like there's more to being a college athlete than just playing football. And that's the value I think also is added through this. They get to ask him any questions they want about recruiting process, what's it like for a day-to-day basis. You get up at 5 a.m, you go to bed at 9, 10, and you redo it 5 days a week. There's really no off season. You just grind. Training camp is like a month of getting up at 5, going to bed at 10:30, redo it. That type of stuff. The other kicking coaches don't really tell you. All the other coaches will not tell you. So actually, Pat and I, we both had kicking coaches, so we kind of know what value they give. But there's obviously there's parts missing that recent athlete or a current athlete would actually be able to give and benefit the youths. So.
Could you guys explain what the process is on each end? So for the athletes signing up to do this, what the process is on their end, and then on the consumer side, what the process is if they want to sign up for something?
Yeah, so it's really quite simple. You pretty much go on the website, create a profile. Literally, you put in your email, you get accepted, and then you put a picture up, do a little bio of what your skills are, your position, your sport, obviously your school, so people can search that. Then you put your availabilities up, whether you're doing online or in virtual, which we're doing as well, or in person, depending on location and area. And then as a consumer, you go on the website and you can just search all the coaches that are available and the times available. So basically, it's really quick process. And you can find out who's available with 3 clicks. And that is the website right there.
So So really, just put on the website, vantagesports.com, right?
Yep. There should be coaches. Yep. And there you go. You just click in.
There you go.
Click. All right. So really, really easy. I was a coach in a past life. I really like this idea. I think this is really cool. Especially because young kids, especially, I think, really enjoy that more peer-to-peer level interaction, and they seem to take that more to heart than sometimes an older trainer or somebody a little more older.
Yeah, I feel like they respond differently to criticism.
Yes,
it's more productive.
Mm-hmm.
It's less. They're less. They don't battle as much. They listen to it more.
Yeah.
It's constructive. And I think that's something really, personally, when I was younger, if someone just a few years older was to tell me what to do, I'd take that, okay, they're in it, they know what they're talking about. But if someone 40 years old is telling me what to do, it's kind of that power structure difference. I feel like you're right, that peer-to-peer, it's more relatable. They were just in their situation, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And I feel like that is something that a lot of the younger athletes will really benefit from.
I agree. I think it's kind of like when you're at that age where you don't want to listen to mom and dad and stuff like that. And then it's there's always that headbutting and stuff. But yeah, no, I for me personally, I grew up a diehard Colorado Buffaloes fan, and I went to every sports camp they had available. I loved it. And so then the athletes would work it, and all I'd want to do is talk to them, hang out with them. And I remember I'd always be asking them to sign my shirt or my hat or whatever. I'd come home with 10,000 random signatures on my clothes, and my parents were like, who even is this? But no, it was that was something that I really loved. And I grew up loving Tebow and Reggie Bush and those guys. And it's to think back and be maybe not those guys, but somebody to that degree to be able to learn from them directly or meet them in person and get to do some one-on-one drills or something. It's just also that engagement. It's okay, then you're watching those players on Saturday and you're oh my gosh, I know that guy I met him, like he coached me, like that's my coach. Like I just think that like me is like looking back at 8, 9-year-old me, I'm like, oh, I would have killed for that, you know? So, and that's kind of where we see it with like with the youth. And then also like high school kids, who, you know, like are wanting to make that jump. And it's kind of like, it's scary because like also the recruiting side of things is like, there's so much to it, you know, like recruiting is insane. It's such a headache. And like, for me, yeah, I transferred around a lot. And so, you know, I had to learn like every time I was like leaving a school and stuff like that, and like how to get re-recruited, how to get accepted to schools. Like there's so much to it. So it's like, we feel like, okay, those college athletes who just went through like their recruiting process, and if they transferred or whatnot, like that's valuable information that like somebody really like needs to hear is going to be able to hear it. So, you know, that's another thing that we're seeing in this.
Absolutely. Trent, you provide a pretty unique viewpoint. You know, you're from Australia. You had like a real job prior to coming over to the States to go to Santa Barbara with Pro Kick, and with NIL coming into form, was it a weird transition for you to be like, okay, I can't make money while I'm in college right now? That seems kind of backwards.
Yeah, I mean, being from a working nature and the fact that the thing, like when you're in college, that's the prime time to be making some money. I mean, when you're on TV, when the spotlight's on you, that should be the time when you can make some money. But unfortunately, obviously, the way the NCAA was working, I mean, you couldn't even. I personally couldn't have even if a person messaged me on Instagram wanting to kick, like I'd have to go through compliance, even if it was completely for free. And there was 1,000 loopholes you got to jump through. And I mean, it wasn't even worth trying to meet up with someone to go kick, even like I said, for free, because the potential to lose your scholarship is. And I mean, these people are making a lot of TV money. They're making a bunch of money, and not to be able to profit off your own. I mean, off your own name too. Like not even be able to give yourself a shout out is really interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, as I mentioned, you kind of coming from this land, and the year you kind of leave, everything kind of breaks open. I think you would have had a pretty good niche there, and creating some money for yourself. And then on the flip side, Patrick, you grew up in this. This was just the way of the world, and you graduated, maybe a couple years too early to really get any benefit from this. But how important is it for these college kickers who, a lot of them aren't on scholarship? The long snappers sometimes aren't on scholarship. The punters, how important, especially for the specialists, where you've got to be the guy to get a scholarship. How important is it to get just some money in your pocket as you kind of go through college?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. Yeah, a lot of specialists. It's a walk on, and unless you're the guy, and like you gotta prove it, a couple of years into your career. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing that doesn't get talked about enough is like a lot of college athletes are really struggling in terms of money, and a lot of guys are coming from backgrounds where they're not coming from a lot of money and stuff like that. And so just for any player, but yeah, especially with specialists, yeah, I mean it's hard, and like those are it's such a specific position, like between long snapping and punting and kicking. It's like there's only a few people that really know how to like coach it and teach it, and a lot of the times it's the guys that have been doing it for a really long time. So yeah, it's I think this is going to be a good place to start, and I think it's going to really help a lot of those guys, and guys who are trying to send some money back to their families and stuff like that too. I think it's going to be more money in the pocket, and it's just going to I think it's going to help a lot of guys. So.
And Patrick, you did have a unique experience yourself, starting at Wyoming, then transferring to Santa Barbara, Ole Miss, Northern Colorado. Kind of take us through your career as a kicker, punter, and how each stop went.
Yeah, no, it's Trent and I always joke about this, that I broke the rules of the NCAA and I kept finding eligibility and stuff, and so. But yeah, it was crazy. Out of high school, I had a lot of big accolades. I was getting some really big offers and some notice my junior year, and everything unraveled senior year. I tear my ACL week 2, So, instead of going on a full ride to a couple different schools, big D1s, I ended up having some walk-on opportunities and ended up at Wyoming. Got there kind of late into fall camp and, had a shot to win the job, but just wasn't enough time. And so, kind of took a heartbreak at the end of the season. I got cut. I was like, man, this might be time to hang him up. And so, later that night, I get a phone call from a junior college, Santa Barbara, and like, hey, we've seen your film. We've heard some good things about you. We're willing to give you a chance. And I was like, okay, like I'll think about it. Took my visit, loved it. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not done with football. I want to keep going at it. And then, of course, that's where Trent and I met. And Trent was my holder. And that was always super fun hanging out with him every day. And yeah, we both had some pretty good seasons and had a lot of different opportunities that came. And, I ended up taking a visit to Ole Miss, and that's all she wrote. SEC football it's insane. So, but yeah, I got down to Ole Miss, and, unfortunately things didn't go exactly how I planned. And so ended up, having some family stuff happening back here. So came back to Northern Colorado for my last season, wrapped it up, and, now we're trying to get a shot in the NFL. So hopefully that works out. And but yeah, it's, that's the thing is like, I had to learn so much about how to get like re-recruited, and then like the transfer portal, came in at that last year, which definitely helped quite a bit. But also like going through compliance, like Trent said, it's a headache when you have to go to them for anything. And the NCAA, man, they don't even really know their own rules, because, even your compliance director is supposed to know like all the ins and outs, like no matter what. And, they sometimes didn't even know what they were talking about, because the NCAA is constantly switching rules and stuff. So, yeah, I think those were some valuable experiences. And I've had some friends reach out and be like, hey, like, I'm thinking about transferring. Like, how do I do this? Like, and so it's, I've been able to walk a lot of people through the process. So, but yeah, I wish I would have been able to just kind of go JUCO, wrap it up at Ole Miss, or just stay at Wyoming. But, oh well.
Right.
So met a lot of people on the way. So
a lot of fun places, that's for sure.
100%.
You mentioned kind of getting cut at Wyoming. We always hear the stories of the end of the year meetings with coaches, and it's more like, so what are your plans for next year? Kind of
right.
Is that kind of how it went? Is that a true statement? Like, so what are your plans? Because your plans are probably not the same as ours.
Don't align with ours.
So what happened was I'm a little 18-year-old kid. I don't know anything better. I'm a freshman. I'm life's great. I'm a football player. Last week of the season, my head coach comes up to me. He goes, hey, I'll see you in my office Sunday morning, 7 a.m. And I was like, that's so weird. And we're getting ready to play our last game. I was like, that is so weird. And I thought I was going to get told, hey, either, you're going to compete for the job again, or like this or this or this. And it was like, we sit down, and he just immediately was like, hey, like, thanks for everything. And I was just like, damn. So it's hard. That was a hard meeting. But that's the business of college football, and that's the business of college athletics, is there's so much money in it, and spots are valuable on teams. So, I understand it now. I mean, when I was 18, yeah, I was pretty pissed off, but yeah, no, it's Trent and I've talked about it a lot too. And so it's crazy. It's crazy when you go from like, you might be the guy to pack your stuff, get the hell out. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hear the stories. I know there's a lot of attrition at USF over the last few years. So you kind of hear the stories kind of trickle out of, the what are your plans for next year?
Question no one wants to hear.
Yeah, it's never a good question to hear at your your end of season meeting with your coaches. Trent, Patrick, we've heard stories about the specialists being a weird tight knit group. I don't want to put anyone on blast. Trent, you still have a lot of teammates on the roster currently, but what's the weirdest thing that anyone's done, like on a road trip, when you're killing time that Friday night before a game?
I got a good one, but so my first season, we would do we'd go to like someone's room and we'd do kind of just turn off the lights and just visualize what was going on. It was like what we're told to do, to try and relax. So what a lot of people don't know is Vivinetto, who was one of the kickers 2018.
Jake,
he's probably one of the funniest people I've ever met. One of the nicest guys, most genuine people, absolutely hilarious. So we're in this room and we're all like in our like corners, obviously trying to stay away from each other because the lights are off. And then after the 10 minutes, they turn on, and then Vivinetto's in the bed with his shirt off, just tucked in under the shirt, and he's got his pants off and his shirt off for no reason. And we had no idea what he was doing. And he would just kind of play pranks on everyone. Like a lot of people wouldn't know that because, again, you said specialists are so tight. He's like one of those people that if you met him, it would take a little bit to open up, but as soon as you knew him, he's honestly the funniest person I've met. Just a real good person to hang out with, always making jokes and trying to lighten the mood. So, but yeah, that was just a weird thing. Definitely a strange thing to happen.
Patrick, how about yourself?
My lips are sealed. I'm not going to talk about. Nah, I'm kidding. I got some pretty good ones, but I personally I got my own pretty good one. But yeah, no, killing time is a specialist because like everybody's in and out of meetings right before games and stuff, and so this one actually happened to me was I'm not a big nicotine guy. I don't really like. It's never been my thing, but on this one road trip, I'm like, okay, you know what, like. We're gonna grab some dip, we're gonna because it was gonna be a night game, so I was like, you know what, whatever. And so my buddy, he bought those Zens. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those. They're like it's like no tobacco, but it's like really strong nicotine. And so we get on the plane and we're like getting off and we're getting onto the tarmac and he goes, hey, do you want to pop one of these in really quick on the bus ride to the stadium before we go walk? And I go, oh yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, definitely. So I put 2 in. And within about a minute, I'm like, oh my God, like just world spinning. I was like, oh shit, this is not a good sight. So I literally felt like I was drunk for like the next 3 hours. And so we get to the stadium, I'm just acting like a fool and everybody's like, what the fuck is wrong with him? And so, but yeah, no, there's always trying to kill time and stuff, but yeah, there's some crazy stuff. There's some stuff I don't know if I can expose some teammates on yet.
I mean, you got to make sure that the statute of limitations is up. I mean, Trent's on a work visa. We don't want to get him deported.
Yeah, right. Like deported yet.
Trent, I completely understand. I have a green card, so I completely understand. Keep that shit under wraps for as long as possible, just in case. I get it. And Trent, I think you have 6 USF records, and it was kind of late in spring. I think that you kind of decided to step away from the game. Was it more of you couldn't continue playing because you'd already completed your master's? I know you had some injury history. What was kind of the deciding factor of you kind of hanging up the boots, so to speak?
So last year in June, I actually tore my labrum bicep from doing too many curls, and then because of that, I had to have surgery in December. So from December, so that's why a lot of people. That's why I wasn't playing in the spring game or anything. I was still rehabbing. But then I had planned, like obviously I was planning to come back and play, and it was all sorted. I was signing up to my next masters, and then I talked to my international, because you have, as an international student, you got international advisor, you got athletic, you got to collaborate with everyone, and no one knows anything about, like, everyone knows their field, but no one knows about the other stands. So I thought I was all good to go. I was about to sign up to my next masters, and I was working out how I was going to do summer, and then basically we looked at it, and the international lady goes, well, if you actually do another master's, you got to complete it before you can do your work visa. Because like as an international, you're granted a work visa for a year, and then you can obviously have ways to extend it. And the master's was going to be another 2 years. Obviously, eligibility for football was up in like at the end of this year, so I would have had to pay 18 months of it out of my own pocket. I don't really need another master's degree. So the issue would have been 60,000, extra to pay out of my own pocket. We talked about potentially, getting a GA job after that, somewhere in the USF athletics to try and get on. But, being older, it didn't really make sense to stay any longer for that. So at the moment, just training. I missed Pro Day. I missed the CFL draft, unfortunately, literally by a week. So we called the commissioner up there and tried to get myself onto that, but I couldn't get there. So now just training and getting better for next year. So it's really just a waiting game now, and doing this job and training full time. So it's not bad, but it's just interesting how things work out,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you were on pace to set 3 career records at USF, and to kind of have it wiped out kind of bittersweetly, it's a tough pill to swallow. I know you're old, but you 30, 31?
31 now, yeah.
31, yeah. I do recall that. It made me feel better that there was someone on the roster actually still older than me.
Right.
So that was nice. You really ruined that for me. So I mean that's a mental kind of thing to hurdle to overcome. You're in a foreign country and you're told, yeah, you're gonna have to pay $60,000 if you want to finish this master's. How was that, mentally for you, kind of being alone in the middle of a pandemic? How did you kind of deal with that?
I think being older it helps. If you told me that when I was 23, 24, and I was still trying to, I have the work experience. I know it's important to move on with a job, so I could kind of judge. I needed, if I want to try and work in America for good, I need a year's experience to put on my resume. I couldn't have just finished football and magically got a job within 2 weeks. That wasn't going to be realistic, and that was the other option. I start the masters, say I'm going to complete it at the end of the season, just stop that, but then I get kicked back home. So again, not really an option. I talked to my girlfriend about it. Again, not getting any younger. It was frustrating because I didn't really get that. You know when your last game is. It would have been nice to know last season was my last season. I would have looked at it differently. Really, for me personally, and as a team, it wasn't a great season. Notre Dame certainly influenced my thoughts on that. That was a rough game to be a part of, personally and as a team.
Right.
And really, it wasn't a season I would have liked to have finished on in college. 2019. I could have left then. Had a bunch of agents hitting me up then. So looking back on it, maybe that was the move. Who knows? But I got my master's now. Things are looking good. And then, even though last season was not great, you learn a lot. From I think the first 3 or 4 games, my punting average was 30 something. It was really poor, and then I managed to get it back up to around 42 yards. So that took a lot. There was times when I could have just said have surgery and call it quits on the season, but persevered through that. So I guess I learned a lot more about myself on reflection. So
absolutely. That's huge. You mentioned the Notre Dame game wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty for anyone, playing or watching. But I do know your last 3 games, I think you averaged over 45 yards per punt those last 3 games, and really kind of, luckily your final game was probably one of the more exciting ones that you participated in. Surprisingly, you only punted 3 times against Central Florida.
Yeah.
Given, I think you are the record holder for most punts in a career, pretty damn close to it. So to end on a decently high note, unexpectedly, I guess is a nice way to go out. For Patrick, for you, how did your career kind of progress and end collegiately? I know you ended up at Northern Colorado. How did your final year go? And knowing that the college life was over, how did you approach that differently?
Yeah, my last year, it was definitely one of my better years. It was really fun. It was a good year, being back home and stuff, having my family a little closer was great. But when college life's wrapping up, it's definitely scary. I finished my degree in economics, and so there's a lot of different avenues to go with that. And luckily, I got a job, the day after my last final I took, and I was working with this other startup company in the financial industry. But it was a weird transition, and like being a kicker, being a specialist, of course, like the NFL is the dream for, I'd say like 99% of like college football players and stuff. And so, but as a specialist, it's hard. It's really, really hard. And so, I was, Trent was talking about agents. I was luckily able to find an agent, after I wrapped up and stuff. And so, for me, it's like, we've been talking to some NFL teams, and there's different avenues as a kicker as opposed to like other players post college. And so there's always like, these old special teams coordinators and some old kicking coaches that put on these combines, and NFL scouts and personnel will come out to. But yeah, no, I mean, wrapping it up, it's kind of scary, because your whole college career, all you've known is like school and whatever sport you're playing. And so to like transition into the workforce, it's definitely a different pace of life, and it's different. And there's so much more free time. I feel like there's more downtime, and then it's like, I don't know what to do with my free time. So, but yeah, no, I mean, Trent and I are kind of in the same boat right now. We love working with this company, and we love the direction of it, because it's like, this hits home for us, and, but we're still training too, so that's been fun too, to be able to talk to Trent about that, kind of keep each other going, because we kind of started this football journey together back in college. And so, it's been nice to, be able to bounce thoughts off him, and him being kind of like the big brother and having like a different perspective. And, it's funny, Trent used to joke with me in junior college, actually, if I had a bad day at practice or something, I'd really beat myself up about it. And I'd be like, Trent, like, give me something, like, tell me something. And he'd just be like, let me tell you, mate, you don't want a real fucking job. You don't. You don't at all. And I was just like, that doesn't really make me feel a lot better. But I was like, I guess I'll have to take that one a little bit. Or if I was really having a bad day, Trent would always do this one. Actually, you did this morning too. He goes, oh, Pat Nashaka lines up for the kick. Game winner. Oh, off the post. They fucking hate him. And I'd be like so in my head as a kid. And I'm like, no, don't do that. It would like make it worse. So, but Trent loved it. Trent always had a good laugh out of it, which, I guess if anything to take away from that joke. So
yeah, it helped me out. So
I mean,
I got a couple of lighter questions for you guys. In my experience, every player, especially skill guys, thinks they can kick. They think they can punt. Is that frustrating for you guys, or is it funny? Do you ever pull those guys out and make them show you?
Sure do.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Who's the worst? Who is the worst? Does anybody stick out as being particularly terrible?
So we always do at the end of a session practice. We'll do punting. One day it might be punting, pressure punts, or pressure kicks, and it was one of the most recent ones that I was a part of. So Hopple, big lineman, he comes up. He obviously talking shit because he thinks he can kick. I mean, everyone thinks they can kick until they try and kick.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he dropped the snap, kicked the ground, and the ball went about 4 yards. And I'm pretty sure we got it on film somewhere. So that would be something to get up, because that is hilarious to watch. And he just fumbles it, finally picks it up, throws it out, miskicks it completely, hits the ground, and the ball literally might go 10 yards, maybe rolling too, not even in the air. So that's probably the most memorable one.
For me, mine was a little different, but like, so with kicking, like, like a lot of guys can just like toe poke it, and like if you kind of hit it right, like it'll go.
Yeah.
But my roommate at Ole Miss, named Dawson Knox, he's the starting tight end for the Bills. He's running his mouth for weeks, and I go, all right, Dawson, like let's fucking see it. And yeah, Dawson actually cranked like a 45-yarder on me, and I was ready to be done. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm really irrelevant here. So, and it's funny because actually in training camp this year, they let him kick one at training camp, and he got it on film and immediately sent it to me. He's like, I still got it, and I was like, it was so frustrating. But yeah, it's funny. It was a different experience with me and him. So
another thing everyone thinks they can do is hold the ball. That's
Yes.
fun to watch.
I had to do that when I played. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's
it's an art.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
Especially when they say that they can hold and then they put their wrong knee down and they're facing the opposite way. That's always fun for the kicker. That's
how many coaches have no clue what they're talking about but come up to you guys and act like they're really the authority? Everyone?
Should we expose them? Should we tell them?
That's everyone, right?
I still got to stay in the good books with them.
Yeah. No, they all know what they're talking about. No.
Every coach thinks they can tell the kicker what to do. My last question on the topic of coaches. Do you guys have any just like one line that sticks out to you from a meeting, something really funny that you can remember one coach saying or anything like that? Because there's always some gold that comes out in those meetings.
Well, actually, one of the most productive things I've ever heard that I actually still, you can apply it to anything. It's listen to what they're saying, not the tone they're saying it in.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I relate that to almost everything, because, coaches can get pretty mad, pretty angry, and, they can raise their voice. But if you actually just listen to the message and take away the tone that they're saying it in, I mean, you probably can gain something from it. And then you can take that personal issue aside. So, I mean, you can use that with bosses. You can use that even just when you're having a normal conversation with someone, if someone's getting in your face a little bit, you can, use that. And I feel like that's something that always has stuck out to me.
Any like funny lines that stick out that maybe not said to you, but said to somebody on the team that just like, sticks in the back of your mind?
I'm trying to think of like funny things said, but what my special teams coaches always did Ole Miss, and this was actually really funny, was like, you guys ever seen Jersey Shore? They do like the fist pumping.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and there's
big fan.
So he was from Jersey, and so before like most meetings, he'd put it on, and it was like he'd call somebody out in the special teams meeting, and then you'd have to get up and you'd have to like fist pump, and there's like so many different variations of it. So that was like something that was always like kind of funny, and it like kept it light before going into some like, heavy duty meetings, especially, after a loss or something of that nature. But I'm trying to think of some funny lines. I mean, there's always like,
yeah, I mean, they're always, I mean, I was told if I miss it another punt, they'll buy me a ticket back home. So, I mean, that's pretty good motivation.
They were waiting. They had that one geared up.
Yeah.
Oh man!
Actually, when saying that, there's nothing better than when they say that, and then you hit a 5-0 rocket, and then you just walk off.
Yeah, you just.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in good fun.
Trent, you mentioned Jared Hubble not being the greatest kicker. Was there someone who kind of went out there that kind of surprised you that some USF fans would be like, oh, okay, in an emergency he may be able to do something?
I'm sure there probably is. I can't think of anyone. Surprisingly, there's actually a lot of people that can snap a ball pretty well. So Brock Nichols is a very good long snapper.
Antonio Greer was the emergency snapper last year.
Yep, he can do pretty much anything.
It seems that's the case for sure.
And like he was super, like he would practice on the sidelines, because I actually caught a few snaps with him last year in training camp. He would miss one, and then he would it was like an NFL snap, perfect. This guy's he's just got some talents that a lot of people wouldn't know, but yeah, he's pretty much good at everything.
I'm a low key Bulls fan because one of course Trent, but my dad actually went to undergrad at South Florida, and but the kicker that I'm looking forward to seeing is Big Cannon, the young Cannon. Kid Cannon.
John, yeah,
he's looking forward.
He's got some talent just from his highlights. I know nothing about kicking, but I know it goes very, very far and pretty straight.
You heard
an 18-year-old.
He's the next great one.
He also has a very good name, so he's got that.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't good, like if you weren't a quarterback or like a punter or kicker, and you had that last name and you played football, I mean,
yeah. No, he's the next. No, I'm a little biased. I've done some training with him back in California, but no, that kid's the next. You heard it here first, so I'm excited to see what his career looks like there.
Perfect. Well, Trent, Patrick, this has been a pleasure. Vantage Sports guys, check it out if you have little ones who you want to get trained up, and if you're if you're hanging out and you're a college athlete and you want to sign up and kind of get some sessions in, make a little money on the side as well, check it out.
Here's the sign up right here. Real easy process. VantageSports.com. Check it out.
Look at it. Look at that. Trent, Patrick, it was a pleasure. Trent, I always had fun interviewing and talking to you, and it's nice to be a little bit more casual and not have
and like people watching what I say as well. It's always good.
You said it, not me.
Always bound by certain rules, but that's all right. So yeah, it's been enjoyable for sure.
Absolutely. Well, again, I appreciate you guys, and you guys can just hop off whenever you want. We're gonna break down USF versus FAMU, and, have a good night.
Yeah, I appreciate
it, y'all.
Thank you.
No.
Thanks.
Well, there you have it.
We got another special guest.
Hey, look at that. Vito comes in. Trent and Patrick go out. That was great.
You got a lot less handsome on this podcast.
Well, I mean, when you replace an Australian with an American, it's an automatic downgrade. You can't really do much about that, Vito. It's not you. It's just who you're replacing. So
we got. I mean, I don't know, Vito. This just popped up.
All right, that's my buddy Josh. So shout out to Josh. Who'll be at the game this weekend. Looking forward to it.
I mean, if your friends can't hype you up, who can?
Nobody.
Amen, brother. Amen.
So Seth, we got a football game. We kind of went through the film room, the footage of the Florida game. A lot of things to be, I don't want to say excited about, but hopeful and improvements. Yeah. Third downs especially. Head coach Jeff Scott mentioned that today during his press conference. Cade was really pretty effective in converting those third downs in the first half, which was good to see. Led that long scoring drive. I think they converted 3 on that drive to keep the drive alive. So.
And they put themselves in really short situations for the most part. I think the longest one might have been a 3rd and 4. And that was when they did a great check when Florida had the overload blitz, check the other way, easy conversion.
So, I mean, there is positives. I know, a loss is still a loss. There's no moral victories. But from week 1 to week 2, we definitely saw some improvement there. And, we'll turn the page. I wanted to kind of touch on some injury stuff that's kind of cropped up this week, as if the defensive backfield couldn't get any thinner. Obviously, with Will Jones going out before the season with a torn ACL, Christian Williams getting hurt at NC State, Mekhi LaPointe and Isaiah Cromartie will also be unavailable for this game versus FAMU. Coach Scott said that Mekhi may be out, for up to 3 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. So, I mean, Brock Nichols time.
They were saving him for the conference schedule. Now they got to break him out a little early.
Yeah. That was actually the one person he was saving for the conference slate. It wasn't actually figuring out the quarterback. It was keeping Brock Nichols under wrap to unleash him against the conference with that hair. Seth, FAMU. They're coming off a win against Fort Valley State, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think I got that name right. I was about to say Fort Scott Valley, but I think it's Fort Valley.
Fort Valley State Wildcats.
I believe they won 34-6. I'm doing this off of memory right now. I haven't pulled that up, but I'm pretty sure that's what they did.
34-7.
34-7. Pardon me.
Where is Fort Valley State located? That's a good question.
I believe Fort Valley's in Georgia, so I'm assuming it's there, but it could be somewhere else.
I mean, Vito, you're the producer of this show. Fort Valley, Georgia. Jeez. Making us do work while we're talking.
I believe that's the hometown of one Jacquez Green.
That is.
I may be wrong, but that's. But yeah, they won 34-7. I don't know how good Fort Valley State is. I don't know how good their first opponent, Jackson State, is. They've got some Division I guys because that's Coach Prime's team. Don't want to call him Dion. That's his team. So they've got some D1 guys that transferred in. USF, has a team full of them. So you'd think that would help a little bit more. They lost 7-6 to Dion's team, Coach Prime's team. Sorry. And then they won last week 34-7. Turned the ball over twice, but they got 4 turnovers. I think offensively you're going to see something similar in scheme to what USF's doing. It looks like I just watched a little bit, but it looks like they, use a tight end kind of off the line of scrimmage and have 3 receivers in the back. So I think you'll see some similar stuff, some spread type stuff. Defensively, I think they're going to be four down linemen. And then their best player, at least according to preseason, preseason all conference, all American type teams, they have a safety that's pretty good. But they have a few other guys.
Marquise Bell is 6'3", 205 pounds. He was named to 3 preseason FCS All America teams. And then their punter is especially good. So FAMU didn't have a season last year. I believe they were in the MEAC or they left the MEAC. Whatever conference they were in, they canceled the 2020 season. So, all the stats for these people, where they're 2 games in, obviously, are for 2019. Their punter, Chris Fadul, was second nationally in FCS at 46 yards a kick punting in 2019. So they were in the MEAC. Now they're in the SWAC. I want to make sure that was one of the bigger conference realignment things that kind of went under the radar. I mean, the MEAC lost a lot of really good teams to the SWAC and some others, and I'm not sure how they survived that, especially being that kind of FCS conference. But as we learned this weekend hilariously, for the love of God, do not overlook an FCS team. But more importantly, if you do have, let's say, a 17-14 lead with 6 seconds left, maybe have a couple of safeties in the defensive backfield, 20 to 30 yards back. Just throwing that out there. There's no reason for it. No reason why I would say that. Just make sure you do that as we move forward.
Let's say you get beat in coverage, just tackle the guy. It's a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah.
It'd be all right. They actually, Alex, they lost to Dion's team 7-6.
Yes.
They did not. Coach Prime, I believe, is undefeated. So, unfortunately for you, Dion is undefeated. Coach Prime. So.
Did they play Eddie George's Tennessee State already, or do they?
I think they did. I think they played last week, but I believe they won, as far as I know. I didn't check it out. I missed it. But I think you're going to see a team that's got a little bit of talent. Coach Scott talked today about they have some speed, but I would imagine they're not very good up front on either side of the ball. The way USF's been able to run the ball this year, offensively, I think they'd have a big advantage there, opening up play action stuff, opening up the RPO stuff. It seemed like Coach Scott said today maybe they might get away from some of the RPO stuff, maybe change it up a little bit because it's not being read correctly. It's kind of what he said the last couple of times he spoke. So we'll see. This should be a get right game for USF to come out, roll somebody, kind of get some momentum going into a stretch where they have a lot of, I think, winnable games in like a 4 or 5 game stretch. So do you want this to be the first one, get the momentum going, and then see if you can grab some more in this next month and a half?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of looking through their roster right now. I'm up to the 40s, and they have 10 former FBS players, a couple of Central Florida guys, Louisville, Syracuse, some others here. A lot. Obviously, they recruited Miami pretty hard. I believe George Simmons, if I'm not mistaken, is the head coach.
Willie Simmons.
Willie Simmons. George Simmons is Adam Sandler's character from Funny People. So Willie Simmons, who was actually was a teammate of Jeff Scott's at Clemson. And there's obviously some history there, so they know each other. And Michael Kelly has for years, basically since he came on the scene at USF. He made it a concerted effort to get these HBCUs back onto the schedule. It had been a little bit since USF had gotten some HBCUs on the schedule. Now they just looking. Let me make sure I've got this right because I don't want to miss anyone. They've got FAMU. I believe they signed a three-game series with FAMU. Yeah, let me make sure. Maybe it was 2. No, it was 3. So they play this year, obviously. They play in 2023. So FAMU is the game before Alabama in 2023. So be on the lookout for that. And then they also play again in 2027 after traveling up to Boise. And then they also, for next year, they've got Howard on the schedule, who is, head coach Larry Scott, former USF guy, as well as Lindsey Lamar, who's the wide receivers coach. They've got Howard, and they also have Bethune-Cookman on the schedule as well in the future. So it was Michael Kelly's goal to make sure that the HBCUs continue to get back onto the site, this schedule cycle, because he knows, these bye games, so to speak, keep athletic departments alive at the FCS level.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing, and hopefully I do know if the band is coming with them.
Yes, they always come. They always travel.
They're unbelievable. I got to see them live once. It was awesome. Best college band I've ever seen. It actually make you want to kind of sit and stay at halftime and watch. So that's just an added bonus.
It really is. And tickets are relatively cheap. I'm sure you can find some on StubHub. This is always the game, typically, that I would actually sit on the bench and not actually cover the game and indulge in some beverages and watch it as a fan every year. These kind of games with the family. Not going to do that this year because we have a new photographer starting this week, guys. Morgan is coming. She runs social for the USL Academy, and she reached out this week, and she's going to be a photographer for the FAMU game. I'm excited for it. She took photos for the Philadelphia Union SB Nation site. I think it's called Brotherly something. MLS is irrelevant to me. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry, everyone who watches MLS. Don't want to talk about what.
Fan.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Not even. I don't want to talk about what happened to Man United today. We'll breeze right past that for sure. But it's exciting. She has one of her photos is on a Topps card for that player, so that's pretty incredible. Cool. Super lucky to have her joining the squad. So that's fun. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun get right game. It's been over a year since USF's won a football game. Period. I don't even want to think about how many days since it's been an FBS win. I'm sure there'll be someone from Central Florida who will do the due diligence and let us know. But Seth, what can we expect? I know scouting, for lack of a better word, an FCS team is tough to say the least. But what can USF expect?
Well, so just looking at them kind of statistically, they haven't been great. Now, there was a little bit of rain in that first game. I don't think it lasted throughout, but it kind of caused some slick field conditions, so I don't know if that was part of it. But they're only averaging 4.4 yards a play against 2 FCS opponents. USF is actually less, but they've played 2 pretty good defenses, I think. So not quite apples to apples. So I don't think they're not a great, at least on paper, statistically, not a great offense. They still haven't decided on their starting quarterback. Sound familiar? They had one guy start the first game, then they named his backup the starter for the second game, and it appears that they both ended up throwing like 20 passes, so they both ended up playing quite a bit. The guy that was originally named the starter threw a couple picks, so maybe he got yanked. So maybe they'll be going back to the other guy. I don't know. But defensively, they're giving up 4.4 yards per play. So they're a net neutral in terms of yards per play. Not great on third down offensively, not pretty good on third downs defensively. So it seems like their defense is a little bit ahead of their offense, but you're hoping that the way USF kind of bounced back in the second half there, played a little bit better. And really, I thought they played better offensively the whole game. They just weren't able to take advantage of some of the opportunities they created for themselves. But you're hoping the offense takes that next step, gets you out a nice lead, then gets them where they have to throw the ball a little bit more. And these guys have shown they'll turn the ball over a little bit. So it kind of, as Coach Scott said, playing complementary football. The defense comes up with a turnover, the offense goes down and scores. Now that causes the opposing offense to have to play differently, and then your defense can feast on that and rush the passer, and it all kinds of builds upon itself. So you're just hoping to see that they come out, play some complementary football, get a lead early. Don't let guys hang around. Just get a lead early, get out in front, and then kind of pull away.
Yep. For FAMU, their leading rusher is Bishop Bonnet. That's just a fantastic name. He's 5'7", 175. He's carried the ball 24 times for 143 yards, averaging a little over 6 yards a clip. And then passing the two guys that you mentioned, Rashawn McKay.
He was the original starter.
Okay. And threw 139 yards and a touchdown against Fort Valley State. And then Junior Murdoch, Muratovich. Muratovich. Excuse me. I don't know why I said Murdoch, man. I think I got distracted by his hair because his hair is phenomenal. It's like the reverse Brock Nichols, which is pretty incredible. He's a freshman from Orlando, threw for 120 yards and then threw a couple of picks versus Fort Valley State last week. So again, as you mentioned, two guys you got to prepare for. Just win a game. I don't think this game is more. I don't think it's more about your opponent. It's making sure, as you mentioned, this is supposed to be the get right game. And FAMU does have a bye week next week, so they may try to unload the clip. You've got your one bye game. I mean, there's already been 8 FBS upsets this year by FCS schools, so it feels like it's happened more this year than in years past. And FAMU in 2019 was really, really good. They were 9-2. I think they finished 24th in the FCS rankings, and I think they won the HBCU national championship as well under Willie Simmons. So again, nothing to sneeze at. I don't think this is a North Dakota State kind of oh my God, why did you even schedule them kind of game. But it's definitely something to just keep an eye on and just continue to find that progress for USF. This is definitely more about USF than anything. Unless they lose, then it's going to be about, and then it's going to be about everything. I know someone asked Fortner McLean starting. Technically, Cade is listed as the starter, but Jeff Scott said during his press conference today that still haven't decided, still going to be up in the air. That's just what it was because Christian Williams was also listed as a starter and he's been out. So the depth chart is always taken with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But
I think they should. What do you guys think? I think they should both play them early because I think it's kind of foolhardy to go. Let's say they put because Jeff Scott said something about we're gonna throw the guy out there and he's gonna go out first, and if he plays well, he's the starter. It's kind of his quote today. You don't want, like, if it's a true competition, you don't want one of these guys going out against the worst team you play really well and just like competition's over, because the other guy may have just come in and done the exact same thing. So I'm hoping they both play early and get a look at them. Let them both play, kind of get in the flow. I think personally, if they both played, I think the offense there'd be much harder to game plan for if they just went and said, you know what, we're gonna play both of them. We're both going to have their packages of what they can do, what they're best at. We're going to prepare them both to play. I think you could do it, but if they want to pick one, I think the best way is let both guys play early. Don't give one guy the first half, one guy the second half. Because if you get out to a big lead and you're going to be playing the guy in the second half with the starters, well, then that's not really fair to him. So play them both early, see what happens. Use this game to figure out who you want to start going to BYU. And then if that game, when you're playing a team that's performed pretty well this year, if the guy you put out there plays well, then roll with him. If not, you've always got the other guy. But I think this game's got to be one where they both play early in the game. You can't wait for longer than halftime to play the second one. Get them both out there early, see what they can do. What do you guys think on that?
Vito?
I would say that I kind of like what you mentioned in the film room about maybe there's a bit of a 2-quarterback system here. Maybe you have plays and packages for both. In this situation, I think you script out the first two, or maybe not script, but you have the first 2 series be one guy, the next 2 series be the next. And unless, game situation dictates one way or the other, like you're down 14-0 to FAMU, then you got to really worry about clawing back in the game. Hopefully that doesn't happen in this situation. But that way, like you said, you don't bring them in the second half and all of a sudden maybe it's a blowout or the whole situation changes. That's the one thing with Timmy is he hasn't had a chance to come in a situation where, the game is close. He's always coming in when it's not necessarily out of hand. I won't say that, but at least in a different situation than what Cade's in. So maybe you give the first couple series to one, next couple series to the next, and then you kind of play off of that. But I mean, I'm kind of with you that they both have different skill sets. So maybe there is a little bit of packaging you can do with both of them in either situation moving forward.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think in my mind, the ideal scenario for this kind of 2-quarterback system is that the third drive, depending, get Timmy in. I think Cade's going to be the starter anyway. He didn't play poorly in that first half. Just the second quarter got away from everyone, to say the least. So it does skew it, but I mean, 12 of 18, 91 yards, led a scoring drive, was really effective on that scoring drive.
And I think the biggest thing with him is the throws that were there, especially the quick game stuff he made.
Right.
McClain in the second half, we watched it last night. There were throws that were there, and he was throwing them in the dirt. Like, he was just not comfortable. Maybe he just didn't play well. But Cade did throw the ball better than McClain did in the last game. If you just watch throw to throw.
Right.
But McClain just offers something totally different that makes you tougher to defend at times. So it's a real tough question.
Over under 5 TDs with Xavier Weaver throwing, like in the game or just like in general?
0.5.
Oh, 0.5. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I didn't see that.
The throw was beautiful.
It was a great throw. It should have been caught. That should have been a tutty. He may have had an angle out of bounds on that throw, but it would have been neat. That would have definitely energized the crowd there, and I think we could have seen a few Florida buttholes pucker up a little bit. Yes. I think they puckered up a little bit after the USF converted that third down on that first drive. I think they were like, "Oh, what is going? This team sucks. Why are they just driving on us right now?"
Grantham got fired multiple times.
Oh, for sure. Oh,
every 5 plays, so he got fired at least 3 times on that 17-play drive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If Kelly Joyner got that tutty, it would be shades of Rodney Adams' first play of the Florida State game.
Yeah, that would have been nice. That would have been real nice. Getting some of those wins. But again, I think Timmy gets cycle him in. Don't even wait for the first drive to end. If there's like a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, get him in there. You can run the RPO. I think, as you mentioned, Seth, Coach Scott did say that they're not reading the RPOs as well as we would have hoped, but get them in, create problems, and make it clear to both guys that, hey, this is what we're going to do. It doesn't mean we hate one of you or we're picking one of you over the other. It's just this is our best chance to win and go do it. So why not just cycle them in during that first drive? Have both of them on the field. Who cares?
Well, that's what they're waiting to break. That's a conference play. But I agree with it. I think there was times where in that long drive where they went down the field, Cade Fortin's in to run kind of a modified triple option. Well, that's Timmy McClain in there, and he pulls that thing. Now he's got a real great chance to score. And doing that, like when you package up a player like that, when you're saying, okay, Timmy, this is going to be your package for the game, it lets them have a mastery of all the concepts, and they usually understand exactly what they're going to see from the defense, because you're not going to call it if they're not giving you that look. That's what Florida's kind of going through with Emory Jones and Richardson. Richardson's coming in and lighting the world on fire, but he's also coming in like in perfect situations, like where the defense is playing exactly how they think they're going to play. That shot play. Okay, they saw USF was going to play the run really hard. All right, we're going to give you this shot play. Emory Jones could have completed that pass too. But they bring in Richardson. He definitely sells the run a little more. You get that guy open, he takes a shot. But that's just because he doesn't have to think about the whole playbook. I think about my package. I master that. We got a lot of people, I think, on here that mastered their package, right? So he does that, and then it's easier in the game. So
I wholeheartedly agree, Seth. I think the first game was weird at how they did it. Obviously, second game I understand why they waited until the second half to bring Timmy in, because Cade was having a modicum of success. He was making the proper throws. So why not just continue to mix them in a little bit more, massage them in, and it's something that can really kind of unlock this offense. There's a lot of team speed that I don't think we've seen or unlocked yet. I mean, Brian Battie and Kelly Joyner are still pretty fast guys. It's not like they just lost their speed overnight. They're still really fast dudes. Latrell Williams is blazing fast. Mario Dallison is fast. I mean, Bryce Miller is a workman-like guy who will just get the nitty-gritty yards for you. But he's still him and Sean Atkins. I was talking to former NFL quarterback, probably last week, kind of discussing some things, and kind of brought up Sean Atkins kind of getting in the rotation sooner than we had all expected. And he just told me straight up, Jeff Scott, he has those guys. He has those small, shifty guys in the slot, Hunter Renfro, Bryce Miller, that are really exceptional at that. Just getting open is such a key component for this offense, because last year they just couldn't get open. So rewarding the guys who can consistently get open is why you're seeing guys like Sean Atkins, who in that second half with Timmy in there, perfect RPO, first down slant, right? It's getting those reps, making sure Timmy can hit those throws. We saw it in the film room last night where Timmy just absolutely just puts one at the feet at the wide receiver, where, if he puts it on the money, he can make a guy miss and he's off to the races. It's just those little things that a freshman, who's not typically a passing quarterback, can kind of progress on to continue to do it.
Yeah, I think we agree with you here, Alex. We'd like to see him cycled in early. Make it a part of the first couple drives. Make it planned. It feels like it's not necessary. North Carolina State, it felt like it definitely wasn't planned, because they said they even put him in ahead of schedule. Florida, it may have been planned just to give each guy a half. The Travis Marsh at the end is like the mind blow, the real like I don't know what to do with that. I think we agree. Let's put McClain in early, and maybe he gets the second drive, or maybe he just jumps in certain situations. Maybe, but I think that, to me, even if Fortin comes out and throws for 400 yards, you still need to have plays with McClain on the field, because he just makes you so tough to defend, and there's things you can do as the season goes on that will generate easy points. Just because even if you're only running for 5 games, that 6th game when he throws it, the guy's gonna be wide open. So I think I think we agree with you there, Alex. One question Eric's asked a couple times, I think he may have asked it yesterday and we missed it. I just remember seeing this. Is, what do you think? Would they did USF did a little bit of 4-man front against Florida. And what do you think about continuing that, having Yates on one end, and then having one of the quicker guys on the backside? I think that is something they've been looking at. They've talked a little bit about that in the past, having like the quick guy to the boundary, so he can kind of be a rusher and then also drop into coverage if you need him to, can just drop into a flat or whatever. I think with that'd be helpful, especially with teams that are like FAMU is going to play with a tight end. I think so. Having an extra guy on the line of scrimmage is helpful, especially if you can kind of just move them around and flex them out on the backside. But I think they're still trying to figure out exactly what they want to be. But they do have more flexibility, it seems like, this year than they did last year in terms of how they line up. Because they lined up in some forefront stuff, and then the second half it looked like you could have just thrown the tape on and told somebody this was Iowa State's defense, how they lined up, they all lined up exactly the same. 3 safeties, 3 down linemen with the ends inside the tackles and guys out wide to play the outside gaps. But I think they're seeing them be a little more flexible. Hopefully these injuries don't limit any flexibility. They're in the back end, but sometimes you have to limit coverage. It limits what you can do up front a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we kind of talked about it. It seemed like Will Jones was going to be a starter, and then Matt Hill kind of gets plugged in there at free safety, and now one of your other safeties goes down. So is it Brock Nichols who gets the start, or do they shift some more things around? It's going to be interesting to see. If there's a coverage bust early on, I think we're gonna figure out what happens there. And again, you got to still create some pressure. They didn't get to Florida often, if at all, last week, and that's still going to be a big issue for this team kind of going forward. Let me make sure I thought I had the number right. Yeah, so I believe they had the same amount. They had 3 tackles for loss and 1 sack against Florida, same as NC State. Those are rookie numbers. You gotta pump those numbers up. You gotta pump those up.
They did cause the quarterback to pull it down a couple of times and then readjust. But yeah, like you said, you want to start creating that havoc, that aggressiveness. That's really helps you when you look at on both sides of the ball. When you look at third downs, it's really about how long is the third down distance that you have to convert. And when it's third and long, those don't get converted very often. So if you can cause a couple negative plays, cause some havoc, those chances of them converting that third down go way down. You get the ball back in good field position, especially if you have them, if it's off a kickoff and they're starting on the 25, and that helps the offense score more points. So it's all complementary football, as Coach Scott would say. But
absolutely.
That's right.
And, Antonio Greer, we went over it on the film room. I mean, he had a tailor-made sack. It's just the guy he was trying to tackle is made of steel, I think, and marble. So it's really tough as a human to tackle marble and steel. But a lesser quarterback goes down with a big old thud. So, you're not going we harped on it last night, and we'll harp on it on this here podcast, proudly presented by Irish 31. You're not going up against these caliber of teams the rest of the year. Cincinnati's pretty good, but now they've got the Luke Fickell thing hanging over their head for the rest of the year. It's insane because there's no way you're getting that man out of the Midwest. Like, wow. Why would he ever go to USC? I think Bill Connolly, ESPN, had this kind of tweet today. USC and Texas have nailed their coaching hires once in the last 40 years. Each team. Pete Carroll at USC, Mac Brown at Texas. And then all of the other guys have just been there. I think the big shock for everyone around the country was Clay Helton was at USC for 7 years.
Our friend Colin Sherwin had a good point when he said if Luke Fickell gets a USC job, he'd spend half his salary on private school for all his children.
How many kids does he have?
Oh, he's got a lot.
7?
Yeah,
oh my God. Oh yeah. So Yeah, they're gonna have to do something. What, 8 million? I saw the line. I didn't know how many kids he had. He was like, yeah,
He's
that
got a
8,
lot.
that's yeah.
So
that's
let's keep them in the same schools here where it's a little more manageable.
right. Jeez, man, that's tough.
I think Godfrey did an interview with Fickle a couple years back, and I was surprised at how many kids he had.
What?
But also, I mean, USC. There's only one USC, and Fickle's a damn good coach and program builder. And I don't know.
I don't think
it might be that hire that doesn't sound like it makes sense, but makes total sense.
I think it would make sense for USC. I don't know if it makes sense for. I don't think it's that great of a job right now.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
You have to come in to be an ace recruiter. I think what would be nice though is if USC was good again. I think it would help increase parity in college football immensely, because Alabama's going out there and getting Najee Harris. They're getting their quarterback right now. If you would have USC locking down more of these California kids, they wouldn't be going to Georgia, Clemson, Alabama. You'd start to do you'd start to kind of see that. I think Fickle would work wherever he went. I don't know if he fits at USC like culturally. I think he's a good coach, but I don't think he's a cultural fit at USC to Alex's point here. But he's a guy that's been in place for a little bit longer. Yeah, Fickle. He's an Ohio State guy, so maybe he's gonna see if Ryan Day will maybe push a couple little money to Ryan Day, see if he'll go to USC.
Well, no, I think Ryan Day now needs to have a bit see what happens the rest of the year here after they got manhandled by Oregon. Not manhandled in the sense of the score, but I mean, Mario Cristobal's got that team looking like an SEC program.
Yeah, they're humming. They are humming right along. I think that was. I think we'll look back 5 years from now and say, wow, that Oregon hire was top notch, and FIU just fired him for fun. Just always remember, FIU just fired Mario.
That was very bizarre.
Mario Cristobal for reasons that literally no one can explain, and that program hasn't quite recovered from that firing.
No.
If I may be so bold, it's weird that the Butch Davis era has not worked out like everyone had expected.
No, they've had a couple. They beat Miami, so.
So did Louisiana Tech, technically.
Well,
Throw a Skip Holtz reference in there.
Yeah, but again, we'll continue to harp on at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, right? 7 o'clock kick. That's okay. ESPN Plus for FAMU. Take the kids to enjoy yourself. It's a relaxing evening. What else are you gonna do on a Saturday night in Tampa? There's definitely nothing else going on for sure. So why not? Why not go spend your money supporting USF? I think money spent wisely and have fun.
SoFlo Saturday.
Yeah, they're pulling out the SoFlo jerseys. They look nice. They're fun. Josh, ESPN Plus isn't bad. I love it. It's so good for the Olympic sports. It's perfect. I mean, yeah, the commentators are right, but
depends on yeah.
Yes, Eric, we have two club tickets to give away. We're going to be doing that not tonight. We're going to do that later this week. I want to really come up with a good question for people to answer, and I haven't found the right one. I've tinkered with a couple about the score of the score spread of the 3 FAMU games, but I mean hasn't been just I don't have the wording quite yet, and it's going to be fun. I promise it's going to be a good question to ties into FAMU at some point, and just think we were so close to getting a Chris Oladokin revenge game this week before he decided to go to South Dakota State and absolutely rip it up. He made the right call. I think that's fair to say. Beating Colorado State, I think he was named the Conference Player of the Year 2 weeks ago, And then I believe he threw another 4 touchdowns this week as they beat the brakes off some very low-level school.
They've got good football out in the Dakotas.
They really do. Good for them. I mean, what else are you going to do?
No FBS
They
program,
come
so.
in. I know North Dakota State comes in and just flashes like because they've come down to recruit Florida a lot. So they come in and just flash like the guys comes in and just flashes like rings.
Right.
The kid's like, oh.
As like the coach from the Water Boy. But it's like, isn't it just like one ring that he just like flashes?
Yeah,
That
the
program
guy
they beat was Lindenwood, by the way.
There it is.
2-7.
Traditional.
Yeah.
Power.
I think Chris got pulled in the second quarter.
They don't even have a logo. It's just a shield.
ESPN for sure.
Division 2. Anyway,
who knows? But that's our show. I think that's kind of it. We've covered everything. Please check out the film room. We had. I want to thank Trent and Ed Patrick for coming on. We won't typically have guests. Maybe we will. I don't know. Did you guys like having guests this week? Reach out in the comments or whatever if you liked having the guests. Back-to-back weeks, or do you want it to be, for what we did the last 2 weeks? I tried to make the football film room more of the breakdown of the previous game, and then kind of moving forward with the guests, the next podcast, and then previewing the upcoming game. So we'll try to line up some more guests. We'll reach out to some folks. Really appreciate Trent and Patrick for coming on and really sharing what they're doing with Vantage Sports. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of just another great opportunity for college athletes to earn some money as they work toward their college degree, and maybe in the pro game, regardless of the sport. So again, appreciate it. Appreciate Seth Vito for jumping on. Any last words before we sign off here, folks?
Oh, we're gonna get score predictions.
Score predictions. Let's see.
It's a staple.
Do we have a line yet? I did not find a line.
They might not put one out.
Yeah, if it is, it's later in the week, right? If they do an FBS one, I usually get an email every Sunday about the lines, and I never got one. This is great radio.
I'll look it up here.
I can't find anything.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah,
I don't see it anywhere.
Let's see.
I can tell you what the predicted score is though.
What is that predicted score?
23.2 to 0. I don't think it's gonna hit. I don't think it's gonna hit that exactly though. So
I would be both like 23 to 0, huh? I would be like, oh, I'm impressed, and also slightly disappointed.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, Seth, score prediction as we get. Let me pull up my handy dandy notebook here, because I've got the previous week's scores as well. So we'll reassess in September and see how we did.
41 to 10. 41. 41 to 10. 41 to 10.
I'm gonna assume USF.
That's correct. Yeah.
Got it. Vito, how about yourself?
I was going to come in close. They scored 0 week 1, 20 week 2. So I was going to double that up and say 40 and 40 to 7. Let's say 47 USF.
Okay. For me, I think we see a lot more Timmy McClain. I think we see him peppered in, as we mentioned, throughout the game, and not just in the second half, or if Kate has a bad game or whatever. I think we're going to see them finally start to unlock that Pandora's box of the 2 quarterback system that they're going to have some success this year. I'm going to say 38-17 USF. I think FAMU gets a late touchdown when the starters are out.
All right, here's a couple. 83.
That
would be a great one.
For Steeg for 56-7. Okay.
It is on
good.
the
That's
Pied
good.
Piper. That's not too far off from what you were thinking. I don't think.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Maikon Bonani would make a good guess.
Yeah, I would love. I mean, I would love to personally hear the Busch Gardens story.
Yeah.
Seth, you know that story?
I do not.
So obviously he was a walk-on, and he had a job at Busch Gardens. And you know the Sky Ride?
Yeah.
Well, he was the Sky Ride attendant, and for some reason the door didn't latch. So he noticed it, and superhero brain, I guess, he jumped onto the Sky Ride to close it, and then realized, oh, this is getting too high, and then fell and broke his back. And then came back. I think he missed the year or missed most of the year, and then came back the following year and had a fantastic season. I believe he kicked the game-winning field goal versus Kansas, if I'm not mistaken, in 2008. And then I think he missed the 2009 year and was back or something like that. It's been a long time. I was in high school back then. I just remember hearing that story and like, what?
Yeah, 2008. He ices number 13 Kansas. His time expires.
Yeah, so that's an impressive story. And if you guys remember, I don't know what part of the Sky Ride that he did that on, but there was one part where there was a bull. Do you remember that? There was like an actual big bull in like one of the things that you kind of like fly over them as you're leaving one of the pass-through stations. So I want to know where, was the bull there? Was it just one of the pass-throughs? I would love to. I'm gonna reach out to Macon because that's a fantastic story. Alex, we're gonna try to work on that because that would be great. I'm hyped now. I have no idea how to get in contact with him.
You have a lot of questions.
Lots of questions.
You've been thinking about this for a while.
I really have, because I mean, formative years. We went through the Delbert years, and then you finally get Macon Bonani, and you're like, oh my god, we have a kicker again, because there was a good solid run of just great kickers at USF, and then Delbert happened. Great punter, great color commentator for soccer, but kicking was a bit of an issue, and then Macon comes back, and I believe Delbert kicked in 2009 or when Macon was hurt. So yeah, I would love to get Macon on Alex. Great shout.
I just rewatched the kick, and it's 43-yarder, and you can see the USF symbol over the white Bucks symbol at center.
Yep.
This is a top 25 matchup.
Yep, also, that'll do it.
What's more surprising, that story or the fact that Kansas was number 13 at some point? Oh, man.
They've fallen and they can't get up.
Yeah.
They need a life alert.
Oh, man. The fact that Coastal plummeted them and they just were expected to do that.
Yeah. It was Mike Mangino was the coach, right?
Yeah. Big fella.
Yeah, that big bitch ain't getting up. There's no way. I mean, as a fellow big boy, man, he fell and was not getting back up.
I've heard some really gross stories about him.
No, I'm sure.
That was the GOAT Todd Reesing at quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, this went off the rails real quick, as it usually does. But again, for Nathan, Seth, Vito, our guests, thank you for joining us tonight for another edition of the Bulluminati podcast presented by Irish 31. Make sure you guys go check them out. Eat lots of food, drink responsibly. Enjoy yourself. They're going to have a watch party with Danielle and Magic 94.9 for the BYU game, Irish 31 Hyde Park. And here we go. Let's end it on a high note. Macon Bonani with the game winner. Let's enjoy.
Ooh. Oh, that was roughing. Oh, did they actually they called the flag too?
Beautiful.
Oh man. Anyway, go Bulls.
Perfect. Go Bulls.